history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Welcome to Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Pull up a chair, lean in. Tonight, we're not just talking about music or history, or even philosophy or politics. We're tracing the echoes of an archetype, a spirit that's whispered through the ages, often in the quiet corners, away from the clamor of the mainstream. We're diving into the lives and legends of knights, cowboys, and warrior poets, seemingly disparate figures, separated by centuries and circumstance. Yet beneath the polished armor, the dusty trail, and the ink-stained pages, there are unseen threads that bind them, threads of fierce independence, of a deeply personal code, of a willingness to stand for something, even when the world around them seems to be unraveling. The liberator's legacy. These are protectors, aren't they? The ones who, in their own time and their own way, carved out space for freedom. The knight, bound by oath, defending the realm and its ideals. The cowboy, a solitary figure on the open range, beholden to no one but his own conscience and the loyalty of his horse. And the warrior poet, armed with both sword and verse, speaking truth to power, often at great personal cost. There's a certain romanticism, perhaps, but also a raw, undeniable truth in these figures. They represent a commitment to something larger than themselves, a dedication to a principle, a pursuit of an ideal, even if that ideal is simply the right to live life on their own terms. It's a libertarian spirit, woven into the very fabric of their being, often expressed through action, resilience, and a quiet, unyielding defiance. Tonight we journey back, beyond the dusty plains and the open range, to an era of castles, crusades, and codes of honor. We're talking about knights. The very word conjures images of shining armor, valiant steeds, and battles fought for king and country. But like all archetypes, the knight is a complex figure, a tapestry woven from threads of both brutal reality and aspirational ideal. And for those of us who lean towards a libertarian perspective, the knight offers a fascinating study in the individual's commitment to principle, even in the face of overwhelming societal structures. The weight of the sword, historical context. The historical knight emerged from the martial aristocracy of the Middle Ages, a time when warfare was not just a profession but a way of life. These weren't the romantic figures of ballad and legend, at least not entirely. They were at their core warriors trained from boyhood in the arts of combat. Their lives were often short, brutal affairs, marked by the clang of steel. Dust on of the battlefield and the grim necessity of survival. The concept of chivalry, as we understand it today, was a later refinement, a code that attempted to civilize the inherent violence of their existence. Yet this very idealization, this aspiration towards something greater, that makes the knight so compelling. Chivalry wasn't merely a set of rules for combat, it was a moral framework, a societal contract that bound the knight to a higher purpose. It spoke of courage, yes, but also of courtesy, of loyalty, of the defense of the weak and the protection of the innocent. It was a sworn duty, not just to a lord or king, but to a set of principles. This commitment, this willingness to uphold a standard, even when it was difficult, even when it was dangerous, is where we begin to see the resonance of libertarian thought. The code, a shield against anarchy, in an era that often lacked the robust legal frameworks we rely on today. A knight's personal code was his most vital armor. This wasn't about blind obedience to authority, but about adherence to a personal standard of conduct. It was a commitment to honor, a deeply ingrained sense of what was right and wrong that guided their actions even in the lawless expanse of the battlefield or the treacherous landscapes of courtly politics. Think about it. In a world where justice could be arbitrary, where might often made right, these individuals chose to bind themselves to a stricter internal discipline. They pledged to be protectors, to uphold justice, to be fair in their dealings. This self imposed restraint, this voluntary adherence to a moral compass, is a powerful demonstration of individual responsibility. It's the idea that even within a hierarchical system, the individual retains agency and is accountable for their actions based on a personal internalized code. This commitment to a code, to a set of guiding principles, is fundamentally libertarian. It's about recognizing a higher law, not necessarily dictated by a sovereign, but by conscience and reason. It's about a dedication to justice, not just as an abstract concept, but as a practical application in one's own life. Knights at their best were not just soldiers. They were embodiments of a commitment to ideals, a willing to defend those ideals with their lives, even when the odds were stacked against them. Libertarian echoes, the knight stand. From a libertarian viewpoint, the knight represents the enduring archetype of the protector who operates under a personal principled framework. Were men who, by their very nature and training, were predisposed to action. With the ideal knight channeled that action through a moral lens. They weren't simply hired muscle, they were guardians, bound by oaths that transcended mere self interest. Consider the concept of defending the weak. This wasn't always a popular or profitable undertaking. It required courage, a willingness to stand against the strong, and a belief that the inherent worth of those who could not defend themselves. This echoes the libertarian principle of protecting individual rights, or standing up for the vulnerable against the overreach of power, whether that power comes from a tyrannical ruler, a corrupt system, or simply the brute force of the mob. The knight, in his most potent form, is a symbol of self-governance. He is bound by duty, but that duty is to a higher principle, a personal code of honor. He is not merely a cog in a feudal machine. He is the individual who has internalized a set of values and strives to live by them. He's a warrior, yes, but his true strength lies in his adherence to his word, his commitment to justice, and his willingness to face adversity with integrity. This is the warrior who embodies the spirit of liberty, not through rebellion against all structure, but through the conscious, deliberate choice to live by a higher, self imposed standard of conduct, even when the world around him fails to do so. Cowboys, frontier freedom, and rugged individualism. We've traveled back to the age of armor and oaths, to the knightly codes that sought to temper the brutality of a bygone era. But now we turn our gaze westward, across vast plains into the heart of the American frontier. We're talking about cowboys, the quintessential symbol of American independence, a figure etched into our collective unconscious as the embodiment of freedom, self-reliance, and raw, untamed spirit. For those who cherish individual liberty, the Cowboy saga is a powerful, visceral narrative. The open range, a canvas of liberty. The American West, in its rawest form, was a land of immense opportunity and equally immense challenges. It was a place where established authority was often distant, if present at all. In this untamed landscape, The cowboy was a king of his own domain, or at least he had the potential to be. His life was defined by the horizon, by the vast open spaces that offered both unparalleled freedom and profound isolation. There was no feudal lords to answer to, no inherent titles to uphold. Your worth was measured by your own grit, your skill, and your ability to survive and thrive on your own terms. This was a world that demanded self-sufficiency. The cowboy was the ultimate doer, the man who could mend a fence, break a horse, navigate by the stars, and defend himself against the dangers of the wild, both animal and human. His tools were his livelihood, and his ability to wield them effectively was his passport to freedom. These practical, hands-on approach to life, this resilience in one's own capabilities, is a cornerstone of libertarian philosophy. It's the belief that individuals, when free from undue constraint, are capable of managing their own affairs and creating their own prosperity. The cowboy's code, unwritten rules of the West. While the West was often lawless in the conventional sense, it was far from amoral. The cowboy operated under his own unwritten code, a set of principles forged in the crucible of shared experience and mutual necessity. This wasn't a codified set of laws handed down from on high, but an evolving ethic born from the realities of life on the frontier. Loyalty to your outfit, to your fellow hands, was paramount. A man's word was his bond, and to break it was to invite ostracism, a fate often worse than physical punishment in a world where community, however loosely defined, was vital. There was a deep sense of fairness, a recognition that in a tough environment, treating each other right was essential for collective survival. This often translated into pragmatic approaches to problem solving, a focus on getting the job done without unnecessary fuss or fanfare. It was about competence, reliability, and quiet understanding of mutual obligation. This inherent sense of responsibility, this internalized ethic of conduct, mirrors the libertarian ideal of individuals voluntarily cooperating and adhering to principles that benefit all, without the heavy hand of external coercion. From romantic ideal to rugged reality. Of course, the cowboy has been heavily mythologized, particularly by Hollywood. The silver screen has often presented a sanitized version, the stoic, square-jawed hero, always impeccably dressed, always riding to the rescue, always triumphant. This romanticized cowboy, while a powerful cultural icon, often obscures the more complex and perhaps more compelling reality. The historical cowboy was first and foremost a laborer. He was a ranch hand, a skilled worker whose life was often hard, dirty, and dangerous. The long cattle drives were grueling journeys, demanding endurance, skill, and an unwavering dedication to the task. They faced harsh weather, treacherous terrain, stampedes, and the constant threat of violence. This wasn't a life of leisure. It was a life of demanding work, undertaken for modest pay, often far from the comforts of home. This aspect of the cowboy, the skilled laborer, the essential worker of the frontier, resonates with the libertarian appreciation for productive individuals contributing to society through their own efforts. He wasn't necessarily a rebel against the system, but a man who navigated the system and its limitations with skill and determination. He was a protector, not just of property, but of the very way of life that the frontier represented. His fight was often for the right to simply continue his work, to maintain his independence, and to reap the rewards of his own labor. The cowboy's spirit of self-determination, his reliance on personal integrity, and his deep-seated desire for freedom in a land with minimal government oversight make him a natural symbol for libertarian ideals. He represents the individual who thrives when left to his own devices, who defines his own destiny, and who adheres to a moral compass that guides his actions. He is the antithesis of the dependent, of the man who expects others or the state to provide for him. The cowboy forged his own path, built his own life, and defended his own liberty with a fierce, unwavering resolve. He is the spirit of the frontier, a testament to what a free individual can achieve when given the space to do so. Warrior poets, art, action, and the soul of rebellion. We've walked with knights, cloaked in the ideals of chivalry and duty, and we've ridden with cowboys across the vast, untamed frontier, embodying rugged individualism and self-reliance. Both archetypes, in their own distinct ways, represent a commitment to a personal code, a dedication to principles that often stands in defiance of the prevailing norms. But tonight, we move beyond the battlefield and the open range to explore a figure who seamlessly merges action with introspection, might with melody, and duty with dissent, the warrior poet. This is not merely a historical or literary construct. It is a profound expression of the human spirit, a testament to our capacity to engage with the world through both deed and word. The warrior poet is someone who understands that true strength isn't solely the ability to wield a weapon, but also in the power to articulate a vision, to capture a truth, and to inspire through expression. They are individuals who can face down adversity with courage and then, with equal passion, can capture the essence of that struggle, its triumphs and its despairs in verse or song. Defining the archetype, more than a soldier, more than a bard. At its core, the warrior poet embodies a duality. They are comfortable in the arena of action, capable of facing physical danger and making difficult, often consequential decisions. This is the warrior aspect, the protector, the defender, the one who understands the weight of responsibility and the necessity of decisive action. But this martial inclination is not a solitary pursuit. It is interwoven with a deep sensitivity to the human condition, a keen observation of the world, and a profound ability to translate those observations into art. This is the poet aspect, the truth teller, the empath, the one who can give voice to the ineffable. Historically, and even in contemporary life, figures emerge who fit this compelling mold. Consider the ancient Greek poet warriors, men like Tityrus, whose martial lyric poetry was intended to instill courage in soldiers facing desperate battles. I think of the samurai of feudal Japan, whose Bushido code not only emphasized martial skill, but also a deep appreciation for arts like calligraphy, poetry, and tea ceremony. These were individuals who understood that a sharp sword and a sharp mind were not mutually exclusive, but complementary facets of a well lived life. In more modern contexts, we see echoes of this figure in Wilfred Owen or Siegfried Sassoon, poets who served in World War I. Their experiences on the front lines, the horrors they witnessed, were not merely the backdrop to their poetry, they were the very substance of it. Their poems, raw and unflinching, gave voice to the brutal reality of war, offering a stark contrast to the jingoistic propaganda that often surrounded it. They wielded their pens with the same ferocity and conviction they might have used a rifle, fighting a different kind of battle, a battle for truth and remembrance. The intertwining of action and reflection. What makes the warrior poet so resonant is this inherent intertwining of action and reflection. They do not compartmentalize their lives into separate spheres of combat and creation. Instead, they see these as natural extensions of one another. The act of fighting for an ideal informs the poet's ability to articulate that ideal, and the poet's introspection can guide the warrior's actions, lending them purpose and moral clarity. This holistic approach to life is a powerful counterpoint to the often fragmented nature of modern existence. In a world that can feel increasingly specialized, where individuals are often encouraged to adopt narrow roles, the warrior poet reminds us of our capacity for breadth, for embodying multiple, seemingly contradictory truths. They demonstrate that one can be both a person of action and a person of deep contemplation. The courage in the face of physical threat can coexist with the courage to speak one's mind and heart. This blend also speaks to authenticity. The warrior poet is unlikely to be someone who espouses ideals they do not strive to live by. Their words carry the weight of their experiences, and their actions are also informed by the truths they have discovered. This creates a powerful synergy where their art is not just a performance, but a testament to a life lived with intention and conviction. Art is rebellion, expression is defense. For the warrior poet, art becomes a potent form of rebellion. It is a way to push back against conformity, against the suppression of genuine thought and feeling. In an environment that might demand silence or adherence to a prescribed narrative, the warrior poet uses their creative voice as a means of liberation for themselves and for others. Their poems, their songs, their writings become acts of defiance, challenging the status quo and asserting the value of individual perspective. This is particularly relevant to the libertarian counterculture we've been exploring, the raw truth that I champion, the unadorned expression that defines the music. It's precisely the kind of authentic voice that the warrior poet embodies. It's the refusal to sanitize experience, the commitment to speaking plainly and powerfully about what matters. In a world that can feel increasingly manufactured and disingenuous, this directness is not just refreshing, it is a vital act of resistance. The warrior poet, then, is not just an artist or a soldier. They are a complete human being, engaged fully with the world. They fight for what they believe in, and they articulate those beliefs with the passion and skill of a master craftsman. Their lives and their art are a testament to the enduring human drive for purpose, meaning, and the freedom to express the deepest truths of our existence, both through our actions and our words. They remind us that the loudest calls for liberty are often found not in political manifestos, but in the soul stirring verses of those who have lived and fought for it. And now a brief interlude. In our journey through the ideals of the knight, the cowboy, and the warrior poet, we've touched upon the tools of their trades, the instruments that allowed them to etch their stories into the world. Whether it was the knight's sword and shield, the cowboy's lasso and reins, or the poet's ink and parchment, this right equipment mattered. It's about reliability, about purpose, about stand up to the demands to the task at hand. Skillcraft U.S. government pins, the enduring mark of quality. When we talk about enduring quality, about tools that are built to last, that perform without question, we often think of official designations of items crafted to meet rigorous standards. That's where Skillcraft U.S. government pins come in. These aren't just any pins. They are crafted with a singular focus on durability and reliability. Think about the knight, whose armor was his lifeblood, or the cowboy whose tools were essential for survival on the unforgiving frontier. Skillcraft pins carry that same spirit of dependability, engineered to perform in any condition. These pens are the perfect companions for anyone who values substance and function. Whether you're signing important documents, jotting down notes in the field, or simply signing a check, you want a pen that won't fail you. The smooth, consistent ink flow, the robust construction, that all speaks to a commitment to excellence. It's the kind of tool that feels solid in your hand, a tangible connection to a legacy of American craftsmanship. They are, in essence, a modern day extension of that warrior ethos, reliable, purposeful, and built to make a lasting mark. Moleskin notebooks, capturing the warrior poet's thoughts. And what good is a reliable pen without a place to capture your thoughts, your plans, your inspirations? For the warrior poet, the keeper of ideals, and the chronicler of experience, there's no better companion than a moleskin notebook. These notebooks have become legendary for a reason. They are tangible repositories for the intangible, for the ideas that spark in the dead of night, for the observations that demand to be recorded, for the very essence of the creative spirit. Imagine the cowboy, perhaps, with a worn leather-bound journal tucked into his saddlebag, capturing the vastness of the plains and the solitary rhythm of his days, or a knight meticulously documenting strategies, mapping routes, or penning verses in a quiet moment between battles. The moleskin notebook offers that same timeless connection. Its sturdy binding, its quality paper, its resilient cover is designed to be carried everywhere, to be filled with the journey of your mind. Whether you're sketching out a new song, drafting your thoughts on liberty, or simply planning your day with the precision of a seasoned strategist, a moleskin is a perfect vessel. It's a place where the warrior's discipline meets the poet's imagination, a private space for the public declaration of your inner world. These are tools that honor this process and respect the act of creation and contemplation. They are, in short, the perfect partners for anyone who believes that their thoughts, their ideas, and their stories are worth preserving, worth taking seriously. So, arm yourself with the tools that match your purpose, a Skillcraft pen to make your mark, and a moleskin notebook to record your journey. Find them wherever quality writing instruments are sold. Connecting the dots, the timeless warrior. We've journeyed through centuries, tracing the lineage of a powerful archetype, from the clinking armor of the knight, bound by chivalry and a personal code, to the dusty trails of the cowboy, embodying rugged individualism and self-reliance. And finally, to the warrior poet, whose words and actions carve meaning from conflict. These figures, seemingly disparate, are united by an enduring spirit, a spirit that transcends eras and professions. It's a spirit that recognizes the importance of a personal ethic, a willingness to stand against the tide, and a relentless pursuit of something greater, whether that be justice, freedom, or truth itself. At the heart of each of these archetypes lies a shared commitment to a personal code. The knight lived by his oath, a voluntary contract that dictated his behavior on and off the battlefield. His loyalty wasn't merely to a lord, but to an ideal of honor and justice. The cowboy, too, operated under an unwritten code, one forged in the crucible of the frontier, emphasizing loyalty to his comrades, honesty, and a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. His word was his bond, a testament to a personal integrity, and the warrior poet, armed with both the capacity for action and the gift of expression, lived by a code that valued authenticity, courage, and the unwavering pursuit of truth, often using their art as a shield and a sword against deception and oppression. This adherence to a personal standard, this voluntary embrace of principles that guide action, is a cornerstone of individual liberty. It's the understanding that true freedom is in the absence of all structure, is the ability to choose and uphold one's own moral compass, even when external pressures demand otherwise. It's about self governance, about being accountable to oneself and to a higher ideal, rather than merely submitting to the dictates of external authority. Their courage in the face of adversity is another undeniable link. The knight faced death on the battlefield, the cowboy confronted the harsh realities of the wild, and the warrior poet often bore witness to and articulated the grim truths of conflict and human suffering. Yet in each case they did not flinch. They stood their ground, not out of blind obedience, but out of a deep-seated conviction in the principles they espoused. This courage isn't about the absence of fear, but the mastery of it, the ability to act despite it, driven by a commitment that outweighs personal safety. Embracing the archetype in the modern world. These archetypes are not mere historical relics. They are enduring aspects of the human spirit that continue to resonate powerfully today. In a world that often feels chaotic, complex, and at times disorienting, the clarity of these figures offers a compelling model for navigating our own lives. The commitment to a personal code provides an anchor in turbulent times, a reliable guide when the external structures falter or prove untrustworthy. The self-reliance exemplified by the cowboy is a potent reminder of our own inherent capabilities. In an era of increasing dependence on systems and institutions, the ability to depend on oneself, to cultivate skills, and to take responsibility for one's own well-being is an act of profound empowerment. It's about recognizing that true freedom often begins with the strength to stand on one's own 2 feet, to be the master of one's own destiny. And the warrior poet duals, duals, dual capability for action and expression offers a blueprint for a more complete and authentic existence. It challenges the notion that one must choose between engagement with the world and introspection, between strength and sensitivity. Instead, it suggests that these are not opposing forces, but complementary ones. By embracing both, individuals can live more fully, articulating their values and defending their beliefs with both conviction and clarity. This synthesis allows for a deeper engagement with life, where actions are informed by thought, and thoughts are given power through courageous expression. And so we find ourselves at the end of another journey on Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. We've traced the invisible threads of connecting the knight, the cowboy, and the warrior poet, discovering how their timeless ideals of honor, self resilience, and courageous expression echo in the libertarian spirit and find a modern voice in some of my music. Remember the knight, bound by his personal code, a protector of principles. Recall the cowboy, carving his freedom on the open range, a symbol of rugged individualism and honor from the warrior poet whose art served us as both sword and shield, articulating truths that dared to challenge the status quo. These aren't just figures from history, they're potent archetypes that reside within us, calling us to live with integrity, to stand by our convictions, to speak our truth, no matter how the world may seem to be spinning. The continuing journey. You can find my music, explore my story, and connect with my authentic message at stephenleake.com. That's STEVENLEAKE.com. Immerse yourself in the sound and let it be a companion on your own journey. As we prepare to sign off, consider the tools that help us navigate our own paths, whether it's the unwavering reliability of a skill-craft U.S. government pen to make your mark, or the faithful pages of a moleskin notebook to capture your thoughts and ideas. Choose tools that honor your commitment to purpose and authenticity. Until next time, keep your thoughts sharp and your spirit free. Thanks for being here with me tonight. It's been awesome. We're going to win.